Today, we're grateful to have Allie and Nardella in our Gala conversation part 2. If you haven't seen the part 1 conversation that I had with the Gala committee, I invite you to watch it. We talk about the exciting things we had planned for the virtual evening on empowerment, and each committee lady share a little bit more about themselves and about why they volunteer with SAFE. So back to Ellie. She's an amazing artist, a talented writer, a sweet mother, a fun grandmother, a loving wife, SAFE's dedicated supporter and volunteer. Sorry. And above all, she's the kindest person and the warm-hearted person that I've ever met. For the viewers, if you all remember, she also hosted Enlighten Your Inner Artist Art Night with SAFE's flight team in 2019. And the feedback from the community was amazing. All participants enjoyed gathering weekly in a safe space to create art and express their inner self. She's also the creator of the button tree art for our gala since 2018. And this year, we're honored to have her as our guest speaker for the gala. And today, the conversation will be casual. So while watching the video, we invite you to grab your tea, your coffee, your chai, sit back, and we hope you enjoy what Allie is going to share. So hi, Allie.
Hello, Chow.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
So let's jump into the questions that I have for you. Please share with us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, when I took a look at that question, Chow, I really had to sit and take a bit of a pause. And where I came to is I looked around at our home and I thought, wow, this is me. This is me. And the message that hangs on a wooden plaque on our purple door as you enter says, "This is us, our life, our story, our home." Home is what matters most to me. Home is everything. And I celebrate us and our life and our story and all that we have and that we create together. Love and safety are within these walls. I carry that within me now. Just as Dorothy would have said, home is best. And my life, my real life, has always been about creating home. I really want everyone to know that. And my part of also, I think is important that his coming and his presence and his being there and the women feeling safe with a man in the room at different times and allowing for that experience of seeing what a healthy couple partnership relationship can look like. So this Saturday, we actually celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. And so it's a big moment for us. So I take a breath and I just breathe with grace. The grace of God that I am here. A mighty crone is what I would describe myself at this stage of life. And I'm in awe of my own life. I feel the wonder when I look up at the sky each day. I really do. And I take a moment and I just say, thank you. Thank you. So I'm a child of the 50s. And things were really different in that time. And I like to refer to something that I call the Book of Norms. It's kind of a made up sort of version for me of how much the experience was so much different and in what we considered normal during that time. The boys will be boys concept. And it's taken me a long time to really speak my truth and come out and say, that was not okay. it wasn't okay. And I think it's so important for women to keep saying that is not okay and to get to that place because it's still happening on so many different levels. We need to keep rewriting this book of norms and bring it up to date because it has not been normal. It's a really important message for me to hold and to share, and hopefully that we can all hear that and know that we are in that constant process of evolving and in transformation and changing our world in every way that we can, and not just for ourselves, but for our children. We have come a long way, and we have a very long way to go. I want us to move out of this whole patriarchal system. It really matters because it set us up for this competition. And rather than a system of cooperation where we work and live together in harmony and as partners and really support each other in our gifts for each other. That's what my creativity is all about. And that's what I want for all of us to create. Really, I want equality for all, nothing based on gender. We need to get past this. So as a child, during that period in the 50s, I really longed. I still feel that in my being, that I just longed to make pretty. I really didn't have pretty around me. And so there was something in me that was constantly taking, making little altars out of cardboard boxes. And I didn't have a little dollhouse. So I would just fill it up with little pieces of fabric that I found and things and make my own doll box. And sort of just this idea of what does creativity look like? Well, that's what it looks like in a child who doesn't have the resources and the supplies and the materials that are given to her. We find them. I probably went out and picked pieces of grass to put in that, to make look just some sort of space, something that I could call mine. And we all need that. We all need, Virginia Woolf said we all need a room of our own. And it's true. Every woman needs a room of her own. We've had enough of, what do they call it? The man's den or whatever. Well, I claim for women, we also need a space of our own. It's really important. So, and it doesn't need to be a whole lot. I really appreciate that. Just a simple table, something, a cushion to sit on, a chair of my own. Wow. So, my childhood situation is one that I really don't like to spend much time talking about. That's where I am a survivor, I feel like I have great compassion for my mother and my father who I feel like they were just both very wounded in their own time and place in history and their own lives and did not have the support. And it was a kind of woundedness that in that book of norms wouldn't have even been recognized, if that makes any sense. Things were just not seen in the same way that my eyes see them now. And I think that's also part of our women's story. We are learning to really understand that what was brought down through generation of generation is it's not okay. We don't, that, and just getting to the place of recognizing is how we learn to see what real abuse is. It's not your eyes all beat up and bruises and punches. There's so many ways to be abused. So I think that for me, my adult life, it required a lot of ongoing therapy. I had such an experience of scarcity in my childhood, of not having proper food, clothing, and shelter, and a warm home and a warm bed. I didn't have a room of my own. I was the only girl child with 9 of us. And so sleeping with my mother in my teenage years and things that, I just were hard. And so opportunities were not available for me. And I took on a lot of fear. Because my father was a mean man. He was a mean man. And he was very frightening. The few times that I have any sense of him being in our home, it's scary. I'm just really scary. He is that representation of the boogeyman in some way. And that experience for a child of watching their mom be so scared. And yet his leaving was not a gift either. Even though he abandoned us and went and had another whole family, it was just filled with so much shame at that time, so much shame. And, and my mother, who just longed and longed for, would have me pray each night for Daddy to come back home and be with us. And so it's looking at things from someone else, what they're holding and their belief system, and the impact on myself and on children and on just how things are in this world. And for me, it was years of dissociation, years of just feeling very dissociated from my entire body and filled with flashbacks and into my adult years. And fortunately, the gift of many, many helpers and lots of therapy and the most supportive husband. And whatever I've done, that has intensified my belief there is a God. There is a something, whatever, with a capital S, who has continuing to take care of me and take care of so many of us. So my own transformation has been one of brokenness to wholeness, hiding to openness, scarcity to abundance, fear to love, gratitude to generosity. It is out of this gratitude that my generosity expands and keeps going. So as I said, creativity it's my strong survival skill. I believe it's there. Life itself is the process of creativity for all of us. It's an ongoing invitation all the time to open our hearts to transformation, and our participation is required. Many years ago, I said to my children, the thing that life is requiring of us is to say yes, to show up, and to wake up. And we can do it in any order we want. We can show up first before we've even said yes, So, I think about that joy that happened to me by, sitting on my cushion in my meditation when we had first, part of our story in the last 10 years is we've moved 7 times. And so this not feeling a home base, and that's so important to me, and not, keep recreating home and how much that means to me, and, moving across the country originally. But then when we moved from San Diego to this area, and again, it was wonderful to be with our family and our grandchildren, which mean the world to me, but there was no sense of friendships or community, or it was all brand new. And so I sat in my meditation and lit a candle, and I was like, what am I to do? And when I got the message that I was to make bags out of my heart for women who had to quickly pack their bags, it just, I can't even begin to tell you what that brought up in me. Like, what is that about? Why am I crying? Why am I sitting on this cushion sobbing? What that personally means to me. So I had no idea of SAVE or of any domestic violence shelters in the area where I live. And I went online and I looked and I read through things, and I was like, I want it to be inclusive. I did not want it to be something that excluded anyone, if at all possible. That was my first criteria. Um, and so when I found SAVE and read about them, I was just awestruck. Like, okay, thank you, God, you rang it and I'm in. Okay, this is a yes, and I'm going to show up. And so I created those bags um, and put them on Facebook, and had friends just start buying them, and it very much surprised me. Like, oh, and so before I knew it, I had, I don't know, an amount of donations, and I called to SAVE, and that's how I came in there. And just the way that that story unfolded, and the honoring of what it brought to me when I was asked to participate and to sit at the table, that I was being invited to the table to be part of this program in some way, to make a contribution with my art, with my, what I call my childlike, my simplistic art, but it just, because what I'm about is how much I want that for everyone. I want everyone to have a box of crayons and to have those materials in the space and the opportunity to create. So just to find expression, because we're all here to express. We are. I'm fortunate now to have a garden, to be able to cook. I love to cook, and I love to create in that way. And it doesn't matter to me what the material is. My granddaughters and my grandchildren, they just smile and they laugh. Oh, Lovey, you're so funny. You make art out of everything, and it's true. And I don't let them throw anything away after they've made a mess and played, because I just cut it up and use it as a bookmark, and so it's a joy. It's just an unending joy. So, my art, it's just like life. It's, creativity is always an unfolding in every moment. And it's a constant question of, how is it that I want to express? For me, home is my expression. It's so much my expression. And I am here, and I'm feeling known, and I'm feeling loved as a wife and as a mother. Our daughter and our son are absolute miracles that they are truly miracles. There's so much to that story, and they are the masterpieces. They are my co-creation for sure. And then to have them have wonderful, beautiful, loving partners, and they are partnerships in life doing good work. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And these beautiful grandchildren, these precious beings they call me, they're Lovey. I am Lovey. It's like, that's my name. And so to hear them say that, and this huge gift. So to me, everything is about life being about the art of loving. And we are always in that transformational process. The only real constant is love. There's changes. People say change is the only constant, but the only real constant is love. And if we can express that in any way we can, and inspire and listen and just connect through our expression. So I guess when I answer your question, there's a lot that unfolded for me when I sat with that. And I'm here as a creatrix right now. And the creatrix is one who makes, and we're all that, every one of us. And so if I was there at the gala, I had such a vision of standing there and giving everyone a pack of crayons and a Hershey kiss. My husband and I, when he took me to Hershey, I was Dorothy. And I just clicked my heels and went over that rainbow. And so our grandchildren know what a Hershey kiss, and we got married in Hershey, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful love story that I did get to have. I used to sing that song, "All I Want Is a Room Somewhere with lots of chocolate for me to eat," and so there I was, you know. So, if anything, I am just so fortunate, and so aware of just life and the unfolding and the carrier, and I am a hope carrier. So thank you for giving me a moment, more than a moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing a glimpse of your life. It's seeing you now, I cannot imagine what you have been through, your childhood, and then all this scarcity, the abandon from your father. But now you're filled with love and joy and gratitude, and you have so many people that love you, and then you love them so much, and it's a huge transformation of your life, really.
I feel like I was able to bring in that message that's so important to me that I ended up writing on last night. At the end of the day, the most important work you will ever do is creating love and safety within the walls of your home.
I love that.
To me, I want that at Save. I'm somehow going to create this art. I want the opportunity. I think I wasn't exposed in my childhood to healthy families. Even that wasn't around me. So that's why it became more the norm to accept this is the way it is kind of thing, because that's what's all around. People just drink too much, or they beat their kids, or whatever they do. And so I think it's important to see healthier relationships and healthier families, because I want people to say, I want that. I want what she's having, and I want to help them have that. Not to feel like, oh, I don't have that and feel worse about themselves, but we can go either way with that, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Can you take us back in the beginning when you create the first button tree painting? The purple and the gold one, and I'm going to share here with our viewer.
Okay. No.
It is hung in the Safe Empowerment Center right now. Can you share with us, what does this tree represent, and what do the buttons represent? And this is the 2018 golden tree. I also have here is our 2019 Gala's button tree, the blue one.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about the first tree.
Okay.
We'll go back to the first one. Okay. And I call that the golden tree. Yes. And you can't see how clearly it's purple. It's a really dark purple. And I want it, purple is such a high level spiritual color. I didn't know that I was doing this painting for any intentional reasons for Save at the time or anything. It was just coming to me because I was feeling this deep sadness, just this intense sadness around all the violence that was happening in the world at the time, particularly with women. I'm trying to think. We had the Women's March for Equality in 2017, and we can all go back to that history and have a sense of what was going on around us. But basically, I knew all my buttons had been pushed. And I found that really remarkable because I have this love for buttons. I have this whole little collection and I just love touching them. I just have this feeling around buttons. So when the symbolism came of the buttons, that they connect us, if I could put that out there, that I wanted to create a piece that represented healing prayers in some way, that each one of these buttons was a healing prayer, and that it was to connect us to what that feels like and to heal our world and be out of this violence. So I can't even remember exactly how it came to be when I brought that to save with the offering to, let's see what we can. Oh, I know now. This actually, if I remember correctly, this painting is what I took to International Women's Day when I was part of art facilitating with the Light program. And I came to International Women's Day, and I had this as part of asking each woman if they would say a prayer and put a button on the tree. And this center button, I don't know if you get, is the one that's right in the center, okay, is actually, I put that button on that day because that's a button from my mother. And I saved it, and I wanted the tree to be grounded in mother love, to button on mother love in the center of our tree and our roots and our branches. And that feels like the heart center in that golden tree to me. And so that button was really important. And my daughter and her two daughters, my granddaughters, came to that event, and they each put on buttons. So it really was this just beautiful celebration of life, and that I believe we are each a spark of light on this golden tree. So I'm always glad to see it. I haven't seen the physical painting in a number of years, but it's nice to see it there. And I'm glad to hear that it's still at Save. Yeah. Aren't they just delightful, all those colors that we are?
The picture cannot describe what it looked like in person. Like you said, the gold is shining with the lights on it. You're welcome anytime in our empowerment center to look at it. It's hung in our ED's office.
Okay.
Round that wall with nothing but your painting, and I love it. Every time I have meeting with Jen, who's our new ED, and I get to see that picture in her background. Thank you for creating this, and with so much meaning, with the mother's love.
And the purple background is, purple is such a sacred color and a high vibration. So it sort of, adds to that for me. But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go to the most recent one, the butterfly button. This one.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I think that's when I first met you, Chow.
Yes.
I brought that tree in, that painting. Well, the interesting thing, first of all, I have a hard time claiming myself as a artist, put it that way, more than I'm fine with being a creatrix or a creator or, those kind of things. And, art form, this is the way it comes out for me. Let's just say that. But the fascinating thing with this piece, particularly, is that this canvas I found at a secondhand store. Yeah, and it's a large canvas, and canvases are very expensive. And like I said, I want to put everything to good use. Coming from the deprivation that I came from, it really matters to not just be a throwaway. So we had bought that canvas, and I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I have a number of them, several of them in my home that I've redone, but that had a really painfully unattractive painting on it for my liking. Okay. And so when I covered it up, I could feel the energy again that I was in this, I was in this sadness in my heart, because I think when I painted this, we were really in fact, I think I wrote to you that there are my teardrops in that painting, because that we were experiencing so many shootings, and particularly the school shootings. And it was just hurting my soul. And so for me, I can't stay in that world of all that negativity and all that, I can get deep, I can get briefed, but then I need to go away from it and take good care of myself and create beauty. Again, it comes back to, that's what heals me in some way, give expression to the other side. There is darkness, and yes, there is light. And so that, I remember going out in my art studio, we lived in Willow Glen at the time, and just having a great old time, just putting on those first layers. And it certainly wasn't that first green, but I was just covering up, and how symbolic that I was covering up the ugliness, what I was experiencing as, this is the side of life that is ugly and painful and dark, and it's the shadow. And so covering it up, and I think that there are still shadows of it in there, which I find delighted. But and so that tree came to be, it was a lot of like just punching on that green, and all of a sudden the tree branches came through, because I had a tree similar to that outside of our home. And then I had bought a few of those butterfly buttons, and they were in my art studio, and I was like, someday I'm going to do something. Well, there you go. I put a few on, and then it was just so thrilling that, at the gala, because that tree, I called it Tree of Hope, is what I called it. And the butterfly symbolizes transformation and hope. And I find it so outstanding that that was the tree that we painted, or that we added the butterflies to, asking each person, what is it that you want to intend for our world, when they put their butterfly on. And that, it's such a representation of transformation. And here, right after that, we go into this pandemic, which to me is just, we are in a collective transformation in such a huge way. So yeah, I don't know, that tree always reminds me of children. Maybe that's what was on my mind too, is the children. And it always reminds me of like something for children. Yeah.
Sure, it is that this year it's a huge transformation for the world, and this tree came to the perfect timing for the theme as well for our gala this year, transformation for all.
Yes.
We all go through transformation in lives in different stages, and we all hope that we thrive to be better, to have more love and to have more support and to give more as well. That's why I always believe, Oh, thank you so much.
How we want to transform, to make some choices of what we want to create, and intentionality. And so those buttons can be, we can do that with intentionality.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing us with the stories of these button trees.